Okay. All right, hold on. Actually, let me check everything. Actually, we're good. Okay. Let me just adjust everything here. That person sounds familiar. Okay. Just adjust everything here. Okay. I think we're good to go. That person sounds familiar. Yes. Okay, it's Wednesday. I think we're good to go. We are good to go, actually. That person sounds familiar. Yes. He does sound familiar. Okay, it's Wednesday. Yes. Isn't it Wednesday? Big storm coming? Definitely. Yes. Plus the serial killer news. Whoa. Folks, the news is nonstop. Let me just adjust this. We just adjust. Hold on. We'll get settled. Put that there. Never ending is what it is, but it's all good. Okay, check with the man. Put that right over there. Okay, and Gian says audio sounds great. Good. All right, folks. 103. We're going to start in. We're going to start in 3 minutes. Now, let me go through the checklist. We are live, all of our different platforms. There we are. Yep. We're live on YouTube. That is very true. Let me just check the connection. I think the audio is fine. I think the audio is fine. Very true. And it is fine. Yes. Check the connection. I think the audio is fine. It is fine. Yep. It is fine. There's Patty Ward. Hi, Patty. Folks, remember, you can watch this hour 1 to 2 on YouTube. Also, by the way, on YouTube, we have the Cranston police body cam video of the 2 shoplifting suspects that they got. It's a pretty good video with the canine. All right, so that is good to go. Now, Facebook had a minor issue yesterday, but it would seem that everything is in line. Yes, and we are live Wednesday. And I think, yes, the audio sounds fine on Facebook. There's Mary D. Hi there, Pat McLeod. There's Anthony Santos. Anthony, watch that. No, and I'll explain why. Watch it, Anthony. Let's not push it. You know, that... God, I hate to have to block a subscriber, but we've done it in the past. You know, I feel like that's taunting, Anthony Santos. I feel that's taunting. So lose that comment. I'd hate to have to. Well, I would, though. Oh, good. Okay. I'll explain why. And then also tomorrow, a nor'easter. Okay. Day is ahead of schedule. Good. So they're going to lunch right now in the trial anyway. Tomorrow's only a half day for the Karen Reed trial. We're live in 1 minute, but it's supposed to be a nor'easter tomorrow. So I don't know. We'll see. Do I feel like driving to the courthouse for a nor'easter? Not really, but definitely not decided just yet. Yeah, refrain from just the free Karen. Like that's just stupid. I'll just say it. It is. That's not a matter of, I'm not trying to embarrass anybody, but at this point, I mean, come on, wake up. Yes. All right, we're going to begin at 1:06 on this. It is Wednesday. It is May 21st. Boy, you'd never know it based on the temperature, how cold it is outside. 1:06, May 21st. Right now, as we speak, we are live on AM 1380, 99.9 FM. You can always listen online at our website, depetro.com. So it is Wednesday. It is, by the way, it's freezing outside, but it's also, we are live right now on X, which is a fast-growing platform for us. We're growing all our platforms. We're live on Facebook. Yes, we are. And we're also live on YouTube. And YouTube continues to grow. So our plan to not just be, a lot of people are just big in one platform, but we're big in a lot of, I think you want to be wherever you can be. So wherever there's an audience that can help us grow. So much of this is just awareness. When people discover the content, they like it. So the key and the challenge is to just try to be exposed to as many people as possible. People can believe whatever they want. And I don't mean to make an example out of Anthony Santos, but I will if I have to. But at this point, that's just foolishness at this point. And there's a limit to how much foolishness I will put up with. Now, this portion of the program, folks, is brought to you by PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. Let me just check the forecast, because obviously tomorrow is going to be a very stormy day. I mean, they're talking about a nor'easter, and okay, all day, 100% nor'easter tomorrow. Friday, I think it starts to clear out. No, this shows rain Friday, Saturday, and the first chance of sun is going to be Monday. So this sounds like a pretty lousy weather pattern. Nonetheless, listen, it doesn't look like it's going to rain all day Saturday or Sunday, which means PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center, Rhode Island's #1 garden center, they are open for the season. Hanging pots, 10-inch, 12-inch moss baskets, hanging patience, pansy marigold bags, large selection of beautiful patio pots, vegetable plants and herbs, tropical mandevillas, hibiscus plants, screen loom, mulch are available. Folks, they're a full-scale nursery. It's PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. They're open 7 days a week, and you can look for them on Facebook. Now, later today, I will have a link. We do have video up, a great police body cam. There were two shoplifters, Lululemon from Garden City. They located them in Cranston. They ran on the police, and then they used the canine to track them down. So it is on YouTube. I have it on TikTok, but then I'll have the link to it on depetro.com. I will update depetro.com. Just understand, there are things with depetro.com, which is brought to you by the Cohasset Inn, 226 Cohasset Avenue, West Warwick. Lunch, dinner, drinks in the lounge. They're waiting for you at the Cohasset Inn, and they'll be rocking all weekend long. Plus, they have the market at Cohasset, the Cohasset Inn. So I'm going to start. There is some news, obviously, on this Wednesday. Let me start with, so I was on Newsmax right before 12 o'clock. So in the 11 o'clock hour, I was also contacted. I'm doing something with Fox this afternoon. I'm doing something with Fox tomorrow. And then I'm also working with some people. And this is actually international. It's I won't give too many details. National is something on a number of different stories. One is the Karen Reed story trial, but also some of the work that we do with Road Patrol Live. It's kind of film series, apparently, on the Northeast, some of the crime, also Charlotte Lester. So as a result of that, I needed access. I couldn't, the type of filming that they're doing for that, you can't just do outside the courthouse. And I was going to go today, and I was going to go tomorrow, but tomorrow's going to be a nor'easter. So we'll see. It's very possible, but I will give you the latest in following that. So, but that's why, and then we'll find out. We find out at some point today the schedule for next week, and I will be in for next week. So there you go. All right. So we are in business for next week. They come out with the list of everyone, and let me just send it to some of my favorite people. And there's one, and they'll be glad to see that. So I will be in as the defense will start. I want to bring you up to speed. What are we going to do? We're going to bring you up to speed with the Karen Reed trial, and I want to hold on. Where's my other favorite person? Wait a minute. Hold on. Hold on 1 second. I know the program comes to. There we go. Okay. And we're good to go. And I also will be on Court TV tonight from 9 to 10. So listen, it's one of those things. It's not only national television. Think of this. In 1 week, Newsmax, Court TV, Fox Nation streaming, and then this international project. So, and despite that, I do believe we're going to be riding tonight with, oh, good, Road Patrol Live. Good. Boy, this is even better. Yes. All right. Let me talk about, so there was a situation this morning with the jury. And there are 18 jurors. There's still 18 jurors, as a matter of fact. There's still 18 jurors. There's still 18 jurors. And now keep in mind, let's talk about what, and today is day 20. Let's talk about what it's like for the jurors. And they moved one of the jurors. Now, these jurors, keep in mind, 18 of them, none of them have dropped off, but just the human dynamic. And I don't know if other people are covering it, but I can tell you, just when you're in court and I'm in, the media area, that's an adjustment. That's an adjustment. I mean, it's an adjustment for me. I'm around people all day who I don't know, and some of them I don't care for. So that's an adjustment. They're not family. They're people that everyone's kind of covering it. But let's just talk about the jury. These are adults. And I just find from my own experience, when you are seated next to someone for hours on end. Now, remember, they're not supposed to talk about it with their family when they get home. They're just sitting next to someone they don't know. And you pick up on all their little idiosyncrasies that they may be unaware of. And I've noticed it with people that because of the coverage that I have to sit next to. And I'm not going to name any names, but there's people that crack their knuckles. If you Google that, you're not supposed to crack your knuckles in public. It's annoying. It's rude. You don't have a tantrum about it. I don't say anything. But when someone just sits there cracking their knuckles all day, that's not something you're supposed to do. If you Google proper manners with Emily Post, you're not supposed to blow your nose in public. If you're in a restaurant or a setting around other people, you're supposed to actually excuse yourself, go to a restroom, a hallway, blow your nose. Not everyone subscribes to that. Some people don't even use handkerchiefs or tissues. I won't say there's someone, a male, they don't cover their mouth when they sneeze, right? I always carry a handkerchief. I always have. My dad carried a handkerchief. My son carries a handkerchief. I always have a handkerchief. I have many. You wash them. I have a different one, several actually a day. And I have a little, I'm very I wouldn't say germ phobic, but germ aware. Those that know me, I think a lot of germs are spread through shaking hands. So after COVID and then various other things, I don't really shake hands a lot. Some people get offended, but nothing can happen if you're sick. So as far as the jury, what else can I vent on? A number of people have allergies. And to me, if you have a stuffy nose, you excuse yourself, you go to the restroom or somewhere where no one can hear you when you blow your nose. Not everyone apparently does that. So instead, you're forced to be next to someone who just keeps sniffing like that. Do you have any idea how annoying that is? The amount of prayers that I'm saying, rosaries, to have the patience to have to put up with it. Apparently not everyone takes allergy medicine and dries themselves out. There was one individual who doesn't have a Kleenex, doesn't have a handkerchief, pretty sure uses his sleeve, and just, you're forced to interact and be next to someone who just keeps sniffing. And I don't mean for 5 minutes. I mean for hours. Like, that's why I usually put in my ear pods so I can block out something like that. Not everyone practices that. Not everyone practices proper hygiene. So getting back to the jury. So the judge brought everybody in, talked to them individually, and moved some people around. And so what I take that as, you got to remember, they don't know each other, and they're spending a tremendous amount of time with each other, hours on end in close quarters. They leave the courtroom, they go into the jury room, they have meals there. Sometimes if something's going on and then they're there for a period of time, people start to talk. You could have someone next to you who's chatty, who you may not be fond of. There could be a variety of different things. So I'm not surprised. I actually think it's even unusual that we're at day 20 and they haven't bounced anybody. So when we've learned who it is that was moved, I'm not surprised at that. I've interviewed people that have sat on a jury, and it was a jury at least 10, 15 years ago. And two of the women I interviewed from the jury, the hardest thing for them was a man that would insist sitting next to them that chewed with his mouth open. And it was so much that they were just ready to vote to end the case because they didn't want to say anything, and they had to have lunch with him. And then sometimes I think it even went late in dinner or whatever, but he would sit there and chew with his mouth open, and they found it uncomfortable. So just to circle, put a period on this, I think, and because I do want to talk about the Karen Reed situation, and I think there's something interesting seemingly going on with, I don't know, with the New England serial killer potential that people are talking about. But as far as the Karen Reed case, as far as the jury, you got to remember, these are adults that don't know each other. What's the whole thing with, company? Fish and company stink after 3 days. How many people have a family reunion weekend? By the end of the weekend, they're like, oh, I'm familyed out. They're with these people every day, all day. And it's very intense. And I give them a lot of credit. And they're cooped up. And, these are people they would normally not cross paths with. So I could see where somebody gets annoyed, someone gets chatty, people want to maybe talk about the case. It's probably a lot to go through. So it sounds like the judge, just wanted to remind everybody, and then made some adjustments because they're very close now. I mean, the prosecution, I would say is, we're talking probably like the 8th inning before, now not the trial, just the prosecution. They're getting close to wrap up, and then the defense will get a chance to put on their case. Now, folks, this portion of the program, because I do want to update you, it's very significant what's happening right now. This portion of the program is brought to you by Propane Plus. Call them today, 401-885-4209. In Massachusetts, 508-252-3359 for Propane Plus. Heating and cooling, you can depend on Propane Plus. Residential or commercial, it's Propane Plus. Just go to their website, type in your zip code. It's Propane Plus. Again, propaneplus.com, or call them in Rhode Island, 401-885-4209, or in Massachusetts, 508-252-3359 for Propane Plus. So where do things stand with the Karen Reed case? And I just think at this point, anyone that's just putting free Karen Reed, you're ignoring the reality that is in front of you. This isn't a matter of, obviously, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But at this point, there are people that are purposely choosing to ignore all the evidence, which is entirely up to you. As I say, I'm not trying to convince anyone of anything. I'm not, because there's many people that they're not looking to follow the evidence. They're looking to just further the conspiracy. But here it is on Wednesday, and the evidence that has come in, and I know some people aren't recognizing that the defense is not contesting the evidence that's being submitted. And that's very significant with that they're not. And I want to drill down on that, but I also want to mention about the Matunic Oyster Bar, and that is devastating for everyone in that. I would put that as one of the top restaurants in South County, probably in the state, devastated by fire. And if you ever have disaster strike, contact Serve Pro of Providence, 401-941-5500. Serve Pro of Providence, fire damage, water damage, mold, they are available 24/7. They'll bring your property back. Fast, thorough, professional. Serve Pro Providence. So Matunic Oyster Bar, they've had a very damaging fire. So not only the damage from the fire, smoke, plus the water of them trying to put it out, they need to contact Serve Pro of Providence, 401-941-5500, commercial or residential, Serve Pro of Providence. But let's talk about, for those that are open about it, as much as the defense was attacking the witness because he didn't update his LinkedIn profile, I would argue there's a lot of people that are not on LinkedIn. There's a lot of young people, by the way, that are not on LinkedIn. And I say that as I have 3 children in the job market. That's not how a lot of young people, that's not how a lot of younger people, I should say, that's not how they're finding their jobs. So LinkedIn, there are some people that use it to network, but there's a lot of people if you're in your employment and you're not looking for a new job, there's really no reason for someone to be in LinkedIn. And I think it also depends on the type of industry that you would be in. So you want to attack the guy. What that expert has talked about and what he presented evidence was this triggering event with the Lexus and John O'Keefe's cell phone and what time and how it's paired up of Karen Reed, even though she hasn't testified in court, but she's talked in interviews, denied that she ever backed up, even though in the docuseries Body of Snow, the woman even says to her, could it have been an accident? No, I never backed up. They have her vehicle, the Lexus, backing up, and they have her backing up at the exact time that John O'Keefe's cell phone stops moving. This is really important. The defense didn't contest that. They were just trying to attack the guy that didn't update his LinkedIn profile. I also want to mention when they were asking him, as Hank Brennan did, the special prosecutor, that you didn't complete your degree, he said, I had every intention of doing it. And then family got in the way and life got in the way. And I seem to be doing pretty well with my job. Someday I'd like to complete it. I didn't complete it. I think that's reasonable. I don't think what I found was I think the jury, how many people on the jury, how many people on an average jury are college grads? Not everybody. And then you take from that, how many people actually finished college? Not everybody. It's not for everyone. Some people go 2 years. Some people go drop out, never go back. And I think it was effective. Oprah Winfrey never graduated. Bill Gates never graduated. Elon Musk never graduated. Mark Zuckerberg never graduated. Steve Jobs never graduated. What are they, failures? I think a number of the network anchors. I think there's some people in television. I don't think Sean Hannity graduated college. So I think it's an elitist attitude. And I believe, my opinion, that Alisi went too far in trying to hammer that guy that he didn't finish. Now, the jury this morning heard evidence that I think lines up with, and I want to just be very clear, as of right now, the defense is going to get a chance. It sounds like next week, the defense is going to get a chance to put on their case, because I believe the way this is pairing up, Hank Brennan, there's no court tomorrow afternoon and there's no court Friday. You want to come in with something strong tomorrow, so then the jury's thinking about it over the long weekend, right? So there's no court Friday. There's obviously no court Monday. So you have that long weekend. So I think Hank Brennan wants to wrap up probably next Tuesday after Memorial Day. So then the defense will then get their chance. And I don't think the defense is going to go that long, by the way. But what the jury heard this morning, I think it's pretty damaging. And I think it lines up with the Commonwealth's case of, I mean, think of the evidence that is coming in. Hanley from the crime lab testified she found tiny red pieces of apparent plastic in debris from the fabric of John O'Keefe's clothing. This is a view of those pieces under her microscope. I want to repeat that. Hanley, who's testifying the crime, for tiny red pieces of plastic of red. Gee, what's red that would be tiny pieces of plastic that would be in John O'Keefe's clothes? Gee, I don't know, maybe a tail light? Hold on, I'll go first. All right, if you want to say she planted it, free country, you can say that. She planted fabrics, plastic, that you need a microscope. How did they plant that? Proctor planted it. How do you, I don't know. Again, if you want to believe that, be my guest. John O'Keefe had a 33% chance of living through his brain injury if Karen Reed had called for help in the moments after he was allegedly sideswiped by Karen's car. So that's really frightening, and that's what a lot of other people have said. Think of all the phone calls that Karen Reed made. All she had to do was go into the house. All she had to do was call 911. Oh my God, there was an argument. I meant to scare him. I backed up. I hit him. 33% chance. Not guaranteed, by the way, but he might have been able to survive if she had called 911. She said yesterday, we saw the Karen clip yesterday. John died around 12:30. How would she know what time he died? How would Karen Reed know what time he died? I thought that was a very damaging clip. Now, I also want to get to some of the testimony that went in today because it's wildly significant and damaging. Do you see Hank Brennan, the prosecution, piece by piece? And let me just jump in. He's nowhere near the house. Do you understand this is day 20? You haven't heard Colin Albert. There's nothing about him going in. He's not even remotely near the house. The evidence shows his phone stopped moving outside by the flagpole. It sounds like John O'Keefe could have been barely conscious and crawling. It sounds like that's what Karen meant when she said, when I saw him, he didn't look mortally wounded. Why? Because he was moving. She thought that he had just fallen down. Probably underestimated how hard he hit the ground. Now, tomorrow, it's going to be heavy rain and wind. If you have a leaky roof now, who knows what's in store for tomorrow? Folks, Roof Co. of Rhode Island, call them today. Call Joe, 401-868-7149. Roof Co. Rhode Island. They'll inspect your roof. If you have a leaky roof or maybe missing lifted or curled shingles, granules in the gutter, damaged chimney flashing, Roof Co. Rhode Island. They will inspect your roof for wind damage and give you a free estimate. It's Roof Co. Rhode Island. Call them for a free estimate. If you're having any problem with your roof, maybe it's time for a new roof, call Joe. You can use my name and tell him you'd like to have your roof inspected. Maybe you have wind damage and the insurance company picks up the whole thing. 401-868-7149. Look for them on Facebook. So folks, good afternoon. So 1:30, and I'm taping something this afternoon that I need to have access to. So I will not be in court this afternoon. And tomorrow is supposed to be a nor'easter, and it's only a half day. But I will be in court for next week. So just so we're clear. But I want to get back to what I think was, I mean, here's Wendy Murphy. Witness just confirmed many of us been saying John did not die instantly. He moved after she swiped him and slammed him to the ground. That's why his body was found further from impact location. Because he was swiped. But his head injuries were caused by him being propelled to the cold, hard ground at a high rate of speed. The doctor also told jurors John's swollen eyes were classic symptoms of such an injury. Folks, what this really sounds like, impossible to know if he would have been immediately unconscious. Probably he became unconscious quickly, unable to do functional activities like calling for help and moving. Could the injury have been caused by simply falling backwards? Absolutely. So that is this Dr. Wolf. So, folks, this is, and let's just talk about that for a moment, and let's go off the evidence that we have that did Karen Reed put her Lexus SUV in reverse? Yes. Yes, she did. And it's right there. And this part is really important. The defense did not contest that. Robert Alessi, I have to ask him, is it Alessi or Alessi? He didn't get up and say, there's no way this shows her Lexus going in reverse. They didn't contest it. So you have to understand there's certain evidence that both accept. There's certain evidence that both accept. And right now, whether you like it or not, if you want to be angry with anyone, be angry with Karen and her defense team. They didn't contest that the Lexus went in reverse and at a high rate of speed. And then shortly after that, his phone stopped moving. They don't have him in the house. I don't know how else to explain that. They don't have him in the house. So do you understand what the picture that is being laid out in the courtroom, the picture that is being established for the jury is, and is, we saw a video of Karen Reed saying we were fighting that morning. And it sure sounds like they were fighting that night. And as many people recognize, I think, alcohol intensifies emotions. Alcohol, how many times do you see people and their emotions are exaggerated because of alcohol? It can be in a romantic way. It can also be in an angry way. So in this situation, she's had whatever it is, 7, 8, 9 drinks. Something triggers her. They're getting directions. Bella's house. Karen Reed, 9 drinks in. Said, Bella's house. That's that woman, Ashley, that you hooked up with. John O'Keefe is like, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to argue about this. Who knows what was said? Maybe he said very mean things to her. We don't know. That's only known to 2 people, and one of them is no longer alive. But he got out of that vehicle. And right now, there is no evidence that he went into that house. None. Last trial seemed to be more suspicion. This trial, because of the data, there's no, I don't know how else to explain it to people. There's no witness that has him in. His cell phone. If you want to say, well, the way that the circle goes with his cell phone, technically he could have been in the house for 4 seconds. Even at that would have to be CIA Mission Impossible type of stuff, of perfect execution. In, boom, back out. And not only back outside, planted to frame Karen Reed, but can you imagine the improbability that if that happened, that John O'Keefe was beaten to death in the house and thrown outside, they happened to place him at the exact location where Karen Reed had backed up. And she's got a broken taillight. And she knew she had a broken taillight. And she didn't do anything about it. See, this is where I think the murder too comes in. This is where Alan Jackson, in his opening statement, said Karen Reed got out of that car. Karen Reed, her own words, said he didn't look mortally wounded to me. Maybe when she looked at him, he was moving on the ground. Maybe she didn't realize how hard his head had hit the ground. I want you to picture someone getting sideswiped and basically landing on his head. It fractured his skull. That's how bad it was. The neurosurgeon this morning, what else didn't happen? What else didn't happen? The defense didn't dispute what he testified to. Do you understand that? Is this getting through? They're not saying that never happened. Folks, this portion of the program, watched by Kids Club on the Pike. Kids Club on the Pike. Not only is it great for a birthday party, before and after school care, preschool, Kids Club on the Pike, right off of 295, right on the Cranston-Johnston line. Call them at 401-443-5336. But reserve the spot for your child or grandchild for summer camp at Kids Club on the Pike. 401-443-5336. Maybe it's for a day. Maybe it's for a week. Maybe it's for a month. Kids Club on the Pike, this summer camp. And let me assure you, they're not going to have drag queens reading to kids at this summer camp. Right off of 295 on the Cranston-Johnston line. It's Kids Club on the Pike. Well, folks, good afternoon. Again, it is Wednesday, May 21st, and it's day 20. And before we're done, I am going to talk about, I think it's very odd about the serial killer, but I want to just stay with the update on the Karen Reed trial, which, again, people can live in whatever world they want to live in. And as I've said, if people want to say everybody's a liar, they're all lying, well, then, go ahead. But his head injuries were caused by him being propelled to the cold, hard ground at a high rate of speed. His injuries were substantial. More probable than not, he became unconscious and unable to function activities after being struck. He did not have the ability to walk, call for help after the collision with Karen's car, a severe concussion. The doctor did say his body could have continued to move on the ground even if he was unconscious. I think that's like when you see a fighter when they're on the mat and they're still moving around. What happens is your body can't act even in a vegetative state, but keep moving. I mean, how much more damaging testimony do you need? The guy is a brain surgeon. He testified today, a Miami neurosurgeon. He has brain surgery tomorrow. You know, the whole thing of people saying, hey, I'm not a brain surgeon here. Well, this guy is. So now let me ask you, I want to, okay, hold on. I want to just check one more thing. I mean, to me, because I'm being asked about the case constantly, despite the fact the credentials of the expert were attacked, and they were. Ivan Bob Alessi, he had a moment on Monday afternoon. Granted, it was on the LinkedIn profile, but he had a moment. But they didn't challenge the data, and that's what's key. He didn't say, this, and this shows your information is wrong. He didn't do that. The defense accepted it. The defense accepted the narrative of the 3-point turn, and then the phone paired with the Lexus. The defense did not argue that her Lexus did not back up. Someone else was saying about one of the Karen clips about where she's being asked, is it possible you backed up and maybe it was an accident? She's like, no, I never backed up. I don't think they play that because don't even give her that in front of the jury. If she wants to take the stand, if Karen Reed wants to take the stand, then she can get up on the stand and say that she never backed up. But I wouldn't necessarily, I wouldn't play a clip. So folks, I do want to get back to, keep in mind what the original third-party culprit was, which was he went into the house, he was jumped, beaten to death, thrown out on the lawn. That is not, unless I'm missing something, and I don't think I am, and I'll be in court next week. I want to hear the defense as much as anyone else. You know what else? It's going to be fantastic to see Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan get to cross-examine these defense witnesses. I want to see these witnesses. Right now, the testimony that we have is that Karen Reed hit reverse. First put it in neutral, rev the engine, and then put her Lexus in reverse so fast she went 24 miles an hour. And John O'Keefe put his arm up in defensive position. The taillight scraped his arm when it exploded. His right knee was damaged, however you want to say that. So it definitely happened on the right side. As she said, did I clip him? And then also, what I don't hear a lot about, but this was in court, and we learned from first responders and people that were at the scene, was when they arrived that morning, John O'Keefe's right eye was like a golf ball. It's like he had an egg there. And if you remember when Hank Brennan was showing the rear spoiler, right, on a SUV, it hangs over the window. So it sounds as though the spoiler caught his right eye, and that's what may have really shot him backwards, right? Because that would then be that. Now, later at the hospital, it's so terrible to think about. His brain, was literally bleeding blood into the brain, which then that forms the perfect raccoon eyes. I worked in a nightclub. I've seen people in fights. Police have seen people when they're in a fight. There's different types of bruises. They don't have the perfect raccoon eyes. That's from terribly, but blood from the brain. But right now, what is in court is she backed up, hit him, boom. That's why his right eye was so damaged. He went flying back. And if you get hit by a car going 24 miles an hour backwards, and it slams you that way onto a hard surface, which the ground was, you land head first. It fractured his skull. He was then, but I'm willing to bet that Karen Reed, seeing him, he was probably moving a little bit. So maybe she just thought he must have slipped down, right? Because then she starts with those voicemails. But the final witness will be the accident reconstruction. And this is where, and look at the lineup of how everything is matching up. The accident reconstructionist will show the definitive of what the Commonwealth now, what the prosecution believes happened, and what this Dr. Welcher believes. And I believe it's going to be like 3D PowerPoint. I think we're going to see some kind of dramatic. I believe they want to make it as simple as possible, but I think we'll even see almost like a cartoon rendering of the vehicle backing up, him getting hit, and then being knocked there. So, but that's only going to work. That's only going to work, or that's not the right word. For people who are truly trying to say what happened, for people that are following the evidence, it will make sense. Because, and as I've said, I'm not trying to convince anybody. I'm really not. I think it's a fascinating case. It's an unusual case. You have a police officer. You have an attractive, it's a female on trial. You don't get a lot of females. You don't get a lot of, if you do the math, Caucasian females. You don't have a lot of white women on trial for murdering their boyfriend. You don't. It's a low percentage of cases. How many cases of white women are on trial for murdering their boyfriend, who also happens to be a police officer, because the charge is murder. Then it falls down. So that's why it's so. I mean, that's why you get the attention. Maybe some people don't understand the attraction of the case. It's just so unusual of a case. And a problem with this case has been many of the people, their first introduction of the case is all the noise and the conspiracy stuff. And what I'm telling you is right now, 20 days in, I believe the Commonwealth, will have to wait for the accident reconstruction. But I think they have really set things in motion to be able to finish the case, right? That's when the special prosecutor, Hank Brennan, says, Your Honor, the Commonwealth rests. They rest their case. It's now the defense case. I think right now they are in a very good position to not only rest, but get her on the murder too. Not yet. Very, very close. And I think the accident reconstruction, and that is going to be key, is if the accident reconstructionist can thread the needle and then make it easy to understand for the jury, because I'll be the first one to admit a lot of the testimony, it's not always easy to understand. It's not. And if you're on the jury and it's hours you're sitting there, and how long have these, when's, these people, they're so far removed from school, I think, I don't know. Maybe some of them are still going to school. Maybe some of them have taken a recent class. But otherwise, this is like being in a classroom and you're taking notes and trying to absorb it. There's a lot of information coming out. So, but I think they're right there. Right there. I think Hank Brennan, I think he's put on a very compelling case. And I think the murder too is within reach. But you need to complete it. That's why these people that put there's reasonable doubt. Well, it hasn't completed yet. Wait till it all is finished. Folks, this portion of the program, call Corey, Quality Asphalt Seal Coating, 401-283-9815. 401-283-9815. Now, what can they do for you? Why am I alerting you to Quality Asphalt Seal Coating? They can seal coat driveways and parking lots. They can offer crack filling, pothole repair. They can resurface a basketball court, a pickleball court, a tennis court. They can epoxy garages and patios, decorative concrete flooring. Keep your parking lot safe, fixing potholes. Call Corey. They have excellent social media. Call them. Free quote. Call them at 401-283-9815. Say the chosen one said, you could resurface my basketball court. You could epoxy my garage or patio. Decorative concrete flooring. Quality asphalt seal coating. 401-283-9815. Now, a couple of reminders. Watson Material. Sean is so terrific to deal with. Call Watson Materials, the most complete selection of landscape materials in Rhode Island. 401-885-0600. 401-885-0600. What can they deliver for you? Landscape lighting, pavers, retaining walls, natural stone, cobblestone, decorative stone. Watson Materials, landscape lighting, pavers, retaining walls, natural stone. It's Watson Materials. Call Sean, request a quote, 401-885-0600. Now, later this afternoon, I'm going to be working on this story. Now, no one that I know has this story right now, and we're going to be working on it and piecing it together. But I have, and I want to thank Lisa, we have pictures. West Warwick. So West Warwick, St. James and John's School parking lot. Okay, so what's the big deal? Well, in the parking lot, I'm going to be posting this after 2:00. State troopers from Vermont, state troopers from New Hampshire, state troopers from Connecticut, state troopers from Maine, state troopers from Rhode Island, and state troopers from Massachusetts. Why are these 6 agencies all gathered in West Warwick? Now, I have calls out. I'm working to get an answer. One of my contacts who I contacted, one of the people I contacted, strike that. One of the people I contacted, I said, is this related to what I think it is? And the answer was yes. So right now, I don't know of any other news outlet that is reporting this, but it's very unusual that on this Wednesday, state police representatives, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, all of New England, are gathered in West Warwick. Very possible that they are sharing notes or have a working theory on some of the unknown remains that have been turned up. Some people refer to it as New England serial killer. Again, I have the photos. I'm going to be posting it after too. I don't know what the answer is, and I'm not going to jump to that. But within all the talk about a potential New England serial killer, of which I've refrained from, I've been on Court TV twice to talk about it. I was on another program, I talked about it. But what I have also tried to push some of the coverage to is some of the remains that have not been identified. Because a lot of the remains have been identified. But there are some human remains found that have not been identified. And folks, those of you that follow Road Patrol Live, and I believe we're going to be riding tonight. I'm doing Court TV tonight, but we can be out early first. But what I'm finding is one of the stories that they did not pick up on was when we were there in Coventry, if you remember, right after Thanksgiving and then early December, FBI agents, we were live. We were first on the scene, as many of you remember. And then we were live the second time. I counted 21 FBI agents in Coventry. Now, the Coventry police held a press conference at the end of January where they announced who it was that the remains belonged to. And it was a woman from Coventry who was then living in Providence, and that her remains were found in Coventry. But the national coverage, they don't even talk about that story, which I have no idea why. I have no idea why they don't talk about it. But I find it very, let's call it what it is right now. It's very unusual. And why is it that on this Wednesday, all the New England states have a police representative in a parking lot in West Warwick? I'm going to try to find out. Folks, this portion of our program brought to you by Arch Design Builders. Listen, if you're listening or watching right now and you're thinking of redoing your kitchen or redoing your bathroom or your basement or a deck or a special project, Arch Design Builders. Call them today, 401-207-4124. 401-207-4124. Arch Design Builders. Set up the free consultation, the free meeting with Ed and Roxanne and Arch Design Builders. They are family owned and operated, high-end, custom-build customer service. They are the best for your home. Maybe you want to remodel your home. Many times, many of the clients start with a small project and then it just goes off from there. 3 years later, they're still working for the people that say, now could you do this? Now could you do that? Wow, that came out great. Hey, would you do this? Call and set up that meeting. If you're listening or watching right now, you're thinking of redoing kitchen, bathroom, any home remodel, Ed and Roxanne, invite them in, show them the space, and then let them lay out for you all the various options available. 401-218-9707. Listen, you're going to find Ed and Roxanne, Arch Design Builders. They're a joy to work with. I believe in them. I love them, by the way. They're fantastic. And I trust them. And I highly recommend them to you. At least set up the free meeting. 401-218-9707. Getting back to the Karen Reed case, which, again, I agreed to be part of. It's actually even an international thing. And so I agreed to be part of the filming of it. And as a result of that, I have to be, I can't, I said I'll do it. It will take me out of the courtroom. Tomorrow's a half day. I am obviously following it. I'll be on court TV tonight talking about the case. And then next week, I will be in court all week. A little bit of a short week, right? Tuesday through Friday. But the case is moving along. And what I would argue, for those that want to really look at the case, those that want to have an open mind about it, those that want to follow the evidence with it, I believe the Commonwealth is painting a very, very clear picture, because that to me is really what we're talking about. A clear picture of what happened, a clear picture of what happened that night. I know that the Karen Read supporters, they go into overdrive. They go into PR overdrive, and they're going to continue. They attack the prosecution. They attack the witnesses. They attack any witnesses. They continue to try to push this narrative. I'm telling you right now that right now in that courtroom, there's no evidence that he was anywhere other than behind her car, behind her vehicle, excuse me, her SUV. And what I mean by that is there's no legitimate, reasonable evidence. No one would sit through this trial this time and say, I think something happened in that house. There's no evidence of that. Nothing. Now, I think it's interesting, as some people have said, that is it possible they should have just made the argument that she dropped him off and maybe he slipped and fell and hit his head, or he was running after her and then just no one saw him. I mean, I don't know. But what the defense third-party culprit had been, which was this massive conspiracy. What did David Yannetti say first trial? Karen Read was framed. I'm telling you right now, for those that want to live in reality, there's been no evidence of that in this retrial. And I mean none. Now, things can change when the defense gets their turn. I'll put it this way. If you're rooting for Karen Read in the defense, and some people are, actually a lot of people are, and many members of the media are, if you're rooting for her in the defense, then they need to change the narrative. They need something to change. They need something to throw the Commonwealth off the projectile that they're on right now. And I think that's being fair and objective. Folks, this portion of the program is brought to you by J. Perry Paving. Hey, Father's Day's coming up. You know what your dad would love? His driveway paved. Call J. Perry Paving today, 401-732-1730. Parking lot, driveway. Remember, no one is better for veterans, to veterans, than J. Perry Paving. They have a special package for veterans, 401-732-1730. I share their Facebook page. Your dad, your brother, your uncle, your grandfather, grandmother, mother, 401-732-1730. J. Perry Paving. Folks, if you're listening to the radio, stay tuned for the 2 o'clock news. Everybody else, I think we are going to be out later on Road Patrol Live. I'm definitely on Court TV tonight from 9 to 10. Enjoy this Wednesday.